something just happened that basically nobody's talking about yet. And I think it could end up being one of those moves that looks brilliant in hindsight. We're not talking about the big splashy names everyone's obsessing over. We're talking about the kind of under the radar acquisition that smart teams make when they're thinking 3 steps ahead. Pay attention here because this could legitimately change how the Dodgers approach their entire roster construction going forward. A couple of new players just got posted from NPB, and the Dodgers have immediately been linked to both of them. We're going to focus on one specific name that I think makes way more sense than people realize. Kazuma Okamoto, a first baseman who's been absolutely raking in Japan, just became available. And yeah, I know what you were thinking. The Dodgers already have a ton of Japanese players. Otani, Yamamoto, Sasaki coming soon. It's almost become a joke at this point that they're just collecting NPB talent like Pokemon cards. But this one's different. This one actually fills some very specific needs that the Dodgers have. And it does so at a price point that makes the move even more attractive. Let me give you the background on Okamoto. This past season, he hit .322 across 2 leagues in Japan. More importantly, he posted a .992 OS and a .411 on pace percentage. That on pace number is what really jumps out at me. Because if Takir is one thing the Dodgers have been trying to add, it's guys who can consistently get on base and set the table for their sluggers. Home runs are great. Power is important, but you need people on base to really maximize that offensive potential. And Okamoto has proven over the past 3 seasons that getting on base is exactly what he does. Now, the first question everyone asks is always the same. How will his game translate to Major League Baseball? That's the million-dollar question. With every NPB player, Bleacher Report did some analysis on this, and they compared him to Munetaka Murakami, who's another highly regarded Japanese player. The takeaway was interesting. They called Okamoto the bumper bowling version of the comparison, which sounds insulting, but actually isn't. What they mean is that he has fewer strikeouts and performs better against high velocity. Those are both incredibly valuable traits when you are making the jump to MLB, where the velocity is consistently higher and the quality of breaking balls is elite across the board. Here is where it gets really interesting from a positional standpoint. Okamoto is primarily a first baseman, which obviously creates some overlap with Freddie Freeman. But he can also play third base, and according to some reports, he's even played some outfield over the past few years. Now, before you get too excited, let's be realistic. He played only 24 games in the outfield over the past 3 seasons, so it's not like he's a natural out there. But the fact that he's shown any ability to play multiple positions gives the Dodgers flexibility. They wouldn't otherwise have think about how this could work in practice. Freddie Freeman is getting older and has been dealing with more injury issues than anyone wants to admit. Having a legitimate backup first baseman who can give Freeman regular rest without significantly downgrading the offensive production would be hugely valuable. But beyond that, if Okamoto can capably play third base, suddenly you've got options for mixing and matching with Max Muncy depending on matchups and who needs days off. And if the swear's an injury in the outfield and you're desperate for bodies, you've at least got someone who's played out there before in professional baseball. The financial side of this is where it really starts to make sense. The projected contract for Okamoto is somewhere in the range of 3 to 5 years at $12 to $17 million annually. Let's call it $15 million per year as a rough average. Now compare that to the other options the Dodgers have been looking at. Cody Bellinger is going to cost significantly more than that. Kyle Tucker is going to command something in the neighborhood of $350 to $400 million total. Okamoto would cost roughly 50% less annually than Bellinger and about 75% less than Tucker. When you are trying to manage payroll flexibility while still improving your roster, that kind of value is impossible to ignore. What really appeals to me about Okamoto from a pure baseball standpoint is his contact ability and plate discipline. The Dodgers don't necessarily need more raw power, though it's obviously never bad to have. What they need is guys who don't strike out constantly and who can work counts and get on base. We saw throughout the season how damaging strikeout Neffy lineups can be. Solo home run after solo. Home run looks great on highlight reels, but you can't score runs without getting runners in scoring position consistently. Okamoto profiles as exactly the type of hitter who makes everyone around him better by clogging up the bases and forcing pitchers to work from the stretch here. Kike Hernandez, who's currently a free agent but heavily expected to return, was teammates with Okamoto in Japan. Kike has already talked about being impressed with Okamoto's talent and seeing him featured prominently at the Tokyo Dome as one of the Giants' legendary players. That existing relationship matters. When you are trying to recruit a player from overseas, having guys in your clubhouse who know him personally and can vouch for both his ability and his character makes the transition infinitely smoother. The Dodgers have built this reputation as the premier destination for NPB players. Ohtani chose them. Yamamoto chose them. Sasaki appears to be choosing them. That's not random. It's because they've created an environment where Japanese players feel comfortable and supported. They've got translators, cultural liaisons, teammates who speak the language, and an organization that understands what it takes to help these guys succeed. Adding Okamoto would only strengthen that pipeline and make the Dodgers even more attractive to future NPB free agents. Now, let's talk about the outfield possibility, because that's where things get speculative. But potentially really interesting, Okamoto has played 24 games in the outfield over the past 3 seasons. That's not a lot. In his most recent 2025 season, he only played first and third. But here's the thing. If the Dodgers really want him and the fit doesn't work perfectly at the infield positions, they could experiment with him in the outfield during spring training and see what happens. The Dodgers aren't afraid to get creative with positioning, and they've shown they're willing to carry versatile bench pieces who can play multiple spots. If you are being honest about what the Dodgers need, they need a primary starting caliber outfielder more than they need another infielder. That's just the reality. But if they can't land Kyle Tucker or don't want to pay what Cody Bellinger is asking, having Okamoto as a fallback option who brings legitimate offensive value and positional flexibility is a pretty smart insurance policy. Maybe he never plays a single inning in the outfield for the Dodgers. Or maybe he becomes that utility guy who gives them 4 or 5 different lineup configurations depending on matchups and who's healthy. The statistical comparisons to other recent NPB imports are encouraging. He profiles somewhere between Seiya Suzuki and Masataka Yoshida, which are both players who've had varying degrees of success in the majors, but have proven they can hit MLB pitching. Okamoto's walk rate is better than Yoshida's, and his weighted runs created plus over his 3-year average is solid compared to both of them. Obviously, we won't know how his numbers actually translate until he's facing major league pitching every day, but the underlying skills suggest he should be able to adjust. One thing that consistently stands out in evaluations of Okamoto is his lower strikeout rate compared to other power hitters. That's massive when you are projecting how someone will handle the adjustment to better pitching. Guys who make consistent contact tend to have higher floors even if their power doesn't fully translate. The velocity adjustment is always the biggest hurdle for NPB hitters, and the fact that is a really positive indicator. The depth argument is something the Dodgers clearly value after how this past season played out. They won the World Series in large part because they had multiple guys who could step in when injuries happening.